All right, welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daybreak Extra.
Daybreak. I mean, you're so used to Daybreak.
And so, okay, this is my first time on Daybreak Extra.
And you're doing fantastic, by the way.
Thank you so much. All right, so let's go into the discussion proper this morning, talking about customer service. Now, Customer Service Week is an international celebration of the importance of customer service and of the people who serve and support customers on a daily basis. Thousands of companies around the world celebrate Customer Service Week. They represent leading financial, healthcare, insurance, manufacturing, retailing, hospitality, communications, nonprofit and educational organizations, as well as government agencies and others. Now, to discuss the importance of customer service, we have Ifeanyi Nwoke, Customer Success Manager, Customer Success Manager, FlexiServe Edusoft Limited. Thank you so much for coming on Daybreak.
Thank you.
And we also have Faisal Sadiq. He's a customer service professional. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, let me start with you, Ifeanyi. Would you say Nigeria has a relatively great customer service relationship?
Well, very interesting question. So you're looking at speaking from my experience in the field of customer service, customer support, and customer experience, and my interactions with a lot of brands here in Nigeria, I'd say that we're not where we are supposed to be in terms of customer service, because a lot of brands still don't see the importance of, prioritizing customer service for their business. And that's why you see a lot of customers complaining about the brand experience, about the experience interacting with product, interacting with businesses, and they still feel that businesses need to prioritize customer service and ensure that customers are happy and they're getting that beautiful experience.
Okay, great.
All right, Faisal, let me come to you. You are someone who has actually you've actually had the experience both from within and without. You've been a customer service professional for a while. You've worked in public institutions. You've worked in the private sector. How would you rate the difference between how customer service is being taken in the public sphere and the private aspect of it?
Well, thank you for the question. So it's relative, actually.
Okay.
If we take the government sector, for example, that's the public sector, we have basically what we say in Nigeria as the core civil service, right? So take, for instance, the ministries, and agencies related to that. We also have the professional agencies. If you take, for example, FIRS, CBN, NCC, that are industry specific.
Right.
So from my experiences, you'll find that those who are professional, so to speak, you tend to have them to have better customer service approach. Probably because they are kind of narrowed to a particular industry. So they tend to be a kind of professionalism, understanding what services you need to provide and all that. So I think they have a better sensitization to that regard, than...
That's in contrast to what we refer to as the core civil service.
Exactly,
I see.
Exactly.
Very interesting. Well, let me ask Ifeanyi this. I tried to get something on Instagram, and then I've never gotten anything from that place before. And then I reached out to them. And then the lady was so nice. What I wanted, they didn't have that.
Yeah.
But because of how she related to me, I really liked it. She followed up, and then she asked so many questions, and I felt at ease and I felt comfortable. She presented a different, brand to me, and I said, just because she was nice and so sweet to me, I was going to buy that brand. Do people in Nigeria actually know how important it is, to relatively speak to people in a way that they can actually relate to, and that could actually help them patronize your brand? Do you know how important that is?
Well, I would say no, because still going back to the initial question around brand experience, there's still businesses, people behind these businesses still don't have that right mentality on how to approach customer service, and that's why a lot of businesses are failing today, because currently, with the advent of the digital, world, a lot of customers now have the power to choose their preferred brand, and then they invest so much in the experience. How do I feel? How am I addressed? How am I talked to? The culture also plays a part in the area of customer service, right? People are really paying attention to that. And if you're not speaking to customers the way they want to be spoken to, then you are likely going to lose them. So I would say that we need to do more in terms of our approach, our engagement, our communication, the style of communication, and how we also identify the different customer sets in our own field of business, ensuring that we're able to speak to them the way they would love to be spoken to.
But does it just end there?
Yeah.
Does it just end with speaking with the customer?
Yeah.
Like, okay, customer calls in, or I call a customer, and we engage each other. Does the customer service actually end there? You're someone who has actually worked in different sectors. All right, you've been in banking.
Yeah.
Right now, you're currently in edtech. Yeah. How will you rate the different styles of customer relations when it comes to these two different sectors? Because one, you have a situation whereby, all right, in the banking sector, mostly the customers come to you.
Yeah, sure.
You just advertise, where this bank, bring your money, and you stay there and you wait for them and they bring their money, and they bring their money to you. But whereas now in EdTech, you have to go out, you have to get new customers, bring people, convince them to come in, and then convince them to stay. How different is that?
Great, interesting question. So I would like to start from your first question, talking about the communication aspect of it. It's not really about communicating with customers. It's a whole lot.
Okay.
It starts from the customer journey map, starting from the first contact to sales to support, to your onboarding to engagement. So it's a big experience. So people tend to invest more. Customers are really interested in the entire experience, not just the communication. And that starts from the initial sales, when the salespeople reach out to the customers, talking to them and seeing how they can get onboarded, and then the entire onboarding experience, the support, product adoption, driving engagement, making sure that the customer sees value. So it's beyond communication. That's the aspect of customer service. And what we do at Flex is we focus more on the customer success experience, right, from the very beginning till to the end phase, and then continuous engagement, ensuring that we're able to make those customers how do I put it, advocate for the brand. Okay. Yeah. So talking about the comparison between what we see in the banking experience and the edtech space, I would say if I'm to compare that, I would say in the banking experience a little bit physical, because you get to meet the customer, and the customer is not just reading your communication, but your body language, your presentation, and all of that. And in the banking sector, people focus more on how the banking industry focus more on how the customer is felt, how the customer feels the environment, how they get in, how they access the product, how they engage in terms of their account, maybe any issues they're having. But then in the edtech space is way beyond that experience. It talks about we are talking about the product itself, how customers want to perceive the product, how they give feedback on the product, how we engage them, how we drive, because you have different users in the edtech space, not just one. When you're building a solution, you're not focused on just one customer. You have a whole lot of users attached to that product. So it's not just one person. You have to ensure that experience is consistent across the board. So I'd say that in the edtech space, it's more a holistic approach towards driving. So
it's more engaging.
Yeah, more engagement. I would say that.
Well, I would say that's quite very interesting. From his assertions, let me throw this at Faisal. In corporate jobs, there are very, very typical instances where employees and employers, there's this gap, that exists between employees and employers. How can the relationship or that gap, be filled with particularly with communication between employees and upper management, and all of that? How can we better improve that and just make it work efficient?
Okay. So since we're discussing customer service, so there's the internal customer aspect. So we need to see it from that perspective, right? Because even as employees working in the same organization, we're customers to each other.
Absolutely.
So we need to see ourselves as customers, right? And customer service is about making your customer happy, helping him to succeed. So For corporate organizations, I think they need to adopt the open door policy. It helps a lot. Because when you have, of course, for you to be organized, you need to have hierarchy from the CEO to the directors to down to your housekeepers, for example. But if you have an open door policy, that your housekeeper can go to your CEO, approach maybe your CEO or a director and tell him, give him feedback, for example, how to succeed and all that. So I think you've opened the door of communication. You give people that confidence to approach you, to give you feedback, because it's all about feedback. You can only improve when you have feedback, actually. So if you have that open door policy, you improve communication. And I think that will help corporate organizations to actually bridge that gap. Of course, you have policies and all that to abide by, but I think that open communication is very important. And as long as you see yourselves as internal customers, I'm providing service to my colleague. So how do I help that colleague succeed, actually? So if we look at it from that perspective, I think corporate organizations will have a better working environment.
All right. I don't even know who I'm going to throw this question to right now.
Maybe both.
I think I'm throwing it to the both of you.
Okay.
All right. But I'm going to start with Faisal, so we cascade down to you. Technology. How important is it in customer service? Because we know there are lots of customer service solutions out there. Some have been there, some have been scrapped, and there's this gradual movement into a lot of different other aspects of work. How important is technology to customer service, and are we utilizing it in Nigeria?
Well, thank you. So it is extremely important, actually, because in the world of today, you cannot run away from technology, actually. And as they say, data has really superseded oil. Right now, it's the new oil, let's say. You know? So technology allows you to gather data, because for you to measure how well you are doing, there are some matrices you need to measure, right? You need to get feedback, you need to get things like Net Promoter Score, your customer service index, a lot of other data, you know. So if you don't have the right technology, you will not be able to get accurate data to help you improve, right? So that being said, the second question is about
are we utilizing
it? We are, but there's a lot to do, actually, right? So of course we visit websites, you know, and the closest example I can give you, in most cases you see a chat box popping up, right? And someone tells you it takes 4 minutes to respond, or 5 minutes to respond. And then a chatbot tells you hello, and then you maybe drop your email and you type your email, and then you are seeing 4 minutes or 5 minutes at the bar, but it takes like 30 minutes for the next message to come to you, you know. So we are not really utilizing it the way we should, even though a lot of other organizations, because you can't generalize, actually. There, while some are using it effectively, some are not, actually. But I think generally speaking, we still have a lot to do.
All right. When you talk about specific organizations utilizing it, if I was nodding vigorously, it was nodding vigorously. I mean, like, you're talking from a place of experience now.
Yeah. So just to add to what my colleague Faith has said, in terms of the importance of technology in customer service, I think it's extremely very important, because you already talked about the area of you know, data and all of that, but then I'm going to be talking more on the area of scalability. And that's, you know, that's one of the reasons why, you know, I still feel that the question you asked is a bit subjective based on the type of businesses that we see out there. So in terms of tech, you know, it's a bit expensive, and, you know, given the current economic realities, it's a bit difficult for businesses to, you know, subscribe to tools, you know, advanced tools and robust customer relationship management tools. So people really go for the basics. That's talking from the business point, and then for the customer's point, people are still gradually getting used to, oh, I can easily just chat someone. Most people would like to walk into an experience center to have their issues resolved, but people are gradually shifting their mindset towards utilizing technology. So we expect to see, you know, more adoption, at least from people here in Nigeria. So, but in terms of the relevance of tech, you know, to delivering exceptional services, I think we're not there, but then we are seeing brands, you know, trying to, you know, subscribe to it, you know, get more buying decision in ensuring that, you know, they're able to utilize these tools. But now, how relevant, how important is this tool to business? Like I mentioned earlier, it still depends on the level of the business. So if maybe a business is in its growth phase, or they are currently, in an advanced and they have a lot of customers, and then how do you ensure, how do you leverage tech to, to scale? Technology, we have the AI bots and all that can even do the talking, the engagement, irrespective of, having someone behind the computer. You can have an AI, you can automate a bot to respond to general inquiries that customers would have. So I think it's really very important, and, businesses need to, adopt the use of it.
Well, so let me just ask you, would you say cybercrime is one of the reasons why people just prefer to go physical instead of just chatting online or just sending their messages, particularly when it comes to bank transactions and all of that?
Yeah. I'll lean towards that a little bit. People are still, especially in Nigeria, people are still very, scared of, using, especially when you have to do with exchanging your personal information online. People are a little bit worried. But then I think businesses are now, recognizing that fact that it's important for them to drive awareness and let people know that, look, these are the type of information you can share online. These are the type of information you should not, or you cannot share online. And we won't ask you. There's this reinforcement in that communication, making sure users are aware of what information they need to share online, just to encourage them to always want to use, digital technologies.
Okay. Faisal, you touched on the issue of on the aspect of data, gathering data, and how important it is to customer service in general. But it's not just gathering the data, is it? You need to gather actionable data that you can actually work with. Because you can have all the data in the world, but if you don't know how to use it, then it's practically useless.
Exactly.
Are we moving towards that direction? Because just like you said, we're using technology, but we're not using it to the extent that we're supposed to. A lot of us, a lot of companies out there just make the show of, okay, I'm subscribing to this, I'm using this one because that person is using it, I'm using it as well. Yeah. But we don't actually use it we don't maximize it. So the data we do gather, how important is it to what we need to do to get to the customer?
So thank you very much. So I think that's very important actually. So this now takes us to the data analytics part actually. When you gather data, you need to make meaningful. You need to make it meaningful to convert it into a meaningful information, right? That will guide decisions. Because if your business wants to move fast, you want to keep up with the trend, you need to act fast. So it's about decision making. So now we are moving into data-driven decisions, right? And just like you said, it's not just having the data, but utilizing it, right? So you need to apply some data analytical skills, right? And that's why it is very important to train customer service professionals to know what data you need to collect, how you need to collect it, and of course collecting data doesn't really have to go through some technology. It could just be a verbal conversation that we do. It could be physical interviews. You could run some survey, in fact, now that a lot of companies are even trying to drive self-service, So from how the customers engage, for those who are into products, IT products, from the way customers engage with your product, even cars, of course, the modern cars, the modern technology, there are a lot of data collection tools, how you drive, where you follow, and all that. And all this data are collected, analyzed. So if you have the proper analytics, then you can convert that data into a meaningful, actionable insight, actually. Then that will actually allow, and those are data, like I said, it leads to data-driven decisions. And from the data you gather, you'll be able to quickly see, okay, this is what I need to continue doing, this is where I need to improve, or to even stop doing some things.
Looks like Ifeanyi wants to say something, one or two about that.
So just wanted to touch on some of the things he mentioned. Talking about the product space, like building digital product. Data is something that guides the way products are built. And there's this saying that you have to always build with the customer in mind. And for you to be able to build with the customer in mind, you need to always hear what they say, get feedback, and know what area you need to prioritize and how you need to guide the development process of your product. So I think, it's very important that you constantly collect that data from customers, and not just collecting it, action the feedback that customers are giving to guide the product delivery roadmap.
Okay.
All right, I have a lot of questions, but anyway, let's talk about this now. I want to narrow it down a little bit. Oh, am I broadening it up? I don't even know which one I'm doing. Customer service has evolved from customer relations, customer service, and now customer support, and we're talking about customer experience. I think that's the latest now. CX. Yes, we're talking about CX now. That's customer experience. As a customer success manager now that you are in the edtech space in Nigeria, how do you keep up with all these changes that are actually happening? Because I know back in the days when we used to, when there's this software that was used in banks mostly and sometimes in telecom, Single View. It was like the next best thing. It was absolutely fantastic. But now when you look at it, exactly, when you look at it, it's just like, it's not something that you actually even want to look at. So how do you keep up? Being the customer success manager that you are, how do you keep up and stay at the top of your game to make sure that as an individual, you stayed keyed in, that means you stayed plugged in, and give more value for your organization?
All right, it's a very interesting question. Okay, so this is one reason why, as a customer success professional, I always advise businesses, when it comes to hiring for your customer experience department, you don't just go for any other employee. You have to go for someone who's passionate about the customers, right? Someone who loves to see their customers succeed, and someone who is also passionate about the industry. So I'm someone who is not just customer success is not just a career for me. It's something I love doing. In fact, when I work, it's not like I'm working. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best job. So I always stay. One thing I always do is I always stay abreast with the industry. On LinkedIn, connect with folks not just in Nigeria, in Africa, in Europe, in the Asia, all of the different regions, making sure that I'm keeping tab with the trends, what's happening, what's the new technology, what's the new ideology,
best practices,
what's the best practice, the new strategies that people are implementing, and why are they implementing it, and in what space, and because it's very important you also look at what space. You don't just go copy strategy and say, because they use in XYZ country, I'm going to also try to use that in my own space. You need to understand the why are they using it, and then see if it fits in, see if you can tweak, see what best practice you can pick from those strategies, or those how do I put it, those adoption processes that they are putting into place, and see what you can bring into your business. So I try to keep tabs with folks out there, and also take certification courses to help improve in my field, and then bring all of those knowledge to the company I work for.
All right, your current job now actually requires you to deal with, I think, a larger customer base. Being in the edtech space, you deal with schools and educational institutions mostly. Both government and private, public and private.
Sure.
So, and just like Faisal pointed out earlier, there's a difference between customer service when it comes to the public sector and the private sector, and all that. So at FlexiServe, how are you able to make that dichotomy? How are you able to make your team respond effectively? Because I know you do things like, apart from the products that you actually have, you actually manage products for other organizations as well. For example, the NECO thing that you guys do. So how do you compartmentalize, or how do you specialize your team or streamline your team to actually deal with these different sets of customers, wanting virtually the same thing but in different ways?
Okay. So there's what we call customer segmentation.
Okay.
So a process of customer segmentation helps you to identify different buyer personas. So like we have different products, like, you know, I mentioned earlier, we have a product focused on the primary, you know, secondary schools. We have product focused on the tertiary institution, and then we have the project itself called NECO. So these different products have different customer types. So starting from the primary schools, and we all know how, you know, so with the primary, secondary, we already know how the customers behave. And then when it comes to the tertiary institution, mostly the public institution, and we know what happens here in Nigeria when it comes to the public institutions. People are not really keyed into their, you know, taking responsibility. So for the primary and secondary, usually private schools, and there's always this hand-holding from the management in ensuring that, you know, whatever digital tool they are subscribed to, they're able to use it because they are paying for it, and they know what it means to pay for those things. So, you know, there's this cooperation from customers. So we pretty much have a way of, you know, engaging those type of customers. But when it comes to the public institutions, it requires close marketing, close engagement, continuous, you know, interaction, making sure that all stakeholders are, you know, on the same table, and we are engaging them, you know, in a very consistent and scalable way. And then when it comes to the project, we know our type of customers, we know we know the interest that plays around that particular project, and we know the key stakeholders who we need to engage, who we need to share data with, who we need to, you know, show the impact of what we have done so far, and, you know, making sure that there's this close relationship with those parties. So coming back into the internal team, we have people who are specialized in different phases of customer success. So we try as much as possible to deploy, you know, our talent in those different customer segments. We have people who are more of conversational, they are more of, you know, stakeholder management. We deploy them in the public customer segment, and those who are more technically sound, we put them in the personal, in the private, you know, customer segment, because it's more of, oh, we have an issue, we need this issue solve it. But the other product is more stable, and then the challenge is how do we engage with the users of this solution? How do we make sure we can enforce them? We can drive best practice. So it's more of engagement. So you have to put people who love to talk, people who are, you know, people that can conversate and drive engagement. So that's how we pretty much set up the team. And each of our products, we have different customer success team key to those products to ensure that our customers are able to use. So to maximize the use of the brand, get, you know, maximum value from this product.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Sounds like a plan, I must say.
You have your hands full.
Already. Well, okay, since we're still... Okay, you want to say something?
On the experience that you mentioned. So whether we're looking at it from the public sector or from the private sector, it's all about providing value, right, at the end of the day. And that's why it is called experience, because whoever is coming to you for a service is really coming to have a good experience, right? So it is very important for your customers, be it in the private or public sector, for them to have that good experience. You need to carry them along from the onset. So for government, for example, if we're making policies, of course we do practice it in Nigeria, but at the end of the day, probably we have a lot of policies that we may have to review actually, but from when we're even conceiving the policies, I think the citizens have to be carried along, you know, engage, because after all, you are providing those services for them. Everybody is trooping to Dubai today, from all parts of the world.
Exactly.
Their number one business, they say, is to make their citizens happy.
Absolutely.
And they are doing everything. So the why, like you said, is to make them happy. So what are we really doing to make our customers happy, whether government or private? I think that's very important.
So now talking about making customers happy, we're still talking Customer Service Week. How important is it for organizations to actually celebrate this day?
It's very important actually, because I think it provides the opportunity to collaborate actually. Like I said earlier, it's also an opportunity to have first-hand information, because it gives opportunity for organizations to interact with their customers, you know. During the Customer Service Week, we've seen people visiting organizations, organizations inviting their customers to come and have an idea of how we serve you, how we produce those things that serve you. So I think it is very important. It brings about collaboration, and it also gives the professionals that belonging, you know, that feeling of belonging, to say, yes, I'm really proud of my job, and this is the impact I'm making.
Okay.
On people.
So in effect, it's a way of making the customer feel part of the organization. So that's just like the customer service has actually evolved from being customer service, customer relations to customer success. I mean, like we succeed together. Right? All right. So I think this year, I don't know whether it's because of more awareness or something like that. I think this year's Customer Service Week, I think it has been more widely celebrated than any other. Last year we did have Customer Service Week, but it was not as widely because we saw it on social media. Lots of organizations posting photos, doing lots of things, bringing
traditional wear.
Exactly.
Nice.
Because even here we went big. We went big here as well. Yeah, we went absolutely big here as well. You know. So is this an indication that we are having more awareness when it comes to how important the customer is? Because I think there was a period of time where we're just interested in getting the customer's money. You come, you pay us, you buy, we sell something to you, go. That's that. You know, we don't care about the relationship. That was when CRM came in. We started talking about customer relationship management, you know. Then we started talking about customer loyalty, turning customers into advocates, and all that. So is this an indication that we're becoming more aware of how important the customer really is? Because I believe we've been paying lip service to it for a very long time. Yeah. The customer is always right, and we leave it like that.
The customer is always honored.
Exactly. So is this an indication that we're moving towards that?
Well, yes, I would say, because organizations, brands, we're beginning to understand that the power lies with the customer. So if you don't pay attention to the customer, you'll be out of business. And we've seen that happen, you know, especially in Nigeria, where businesses, don't prioritize customer experience, and then, that leads to negative experience for our customers. And then when customers get that negative experience, they are most likely to leave that business.
And word of mouth is very dangerous.
Yeah,
exactly. It's also very dangerous because I personally have stopped using a product or stopped going somewhere for service from, or not even go there as well, from what somebody has told me.
Yeah.
You go somewhere, you have a terrible experience, and you tell me those people don't go there. It's rubbish, and I won't. You understand? So I think word of mouth is a very powerful tool, and it's only through customer experience that we can actually make that work for us.
Yeah, just to also add that we've seen cases where maybe someone goes to a brand and then tries to do business, and then at the end of the day maybe something went wrong, and the organizations, they don't really prioritize and manage that issue appropriately. And then the next thing that customer would do is to just go on Twitter and just boom.
I think I've seen that lately.
Exactly.
It happens I'm going to drag them. I'm like, okay,
and
drag
they'll tell you, no, please, we're going to, whatever it is, we're going to solve it. Even if it's giving you that product for free, we will do that, because they know the implication of having that issue go viral. So businesses are beginning to see the importance of prioritizing their customers, celebrating them. Not just say, it's about your money. Let me be paying for subscribe. I'm giving you what prioritizing, making customers feel valued, like feeling, like, I'm associated with a brand, and that goes into the customer experience aspect of it that we're talking about, personalizing the experience. It's beyond their customers. People sending communication and say their customers, they address a lot of people. Now you need to speak to your different customer set, like, I'm sending a message to Ibrahim. Hi Ibrahim. That personalized experience, that's what people want to see. And then the more of that, the more you do that, the more customers feel attached to your brand.
Absolutely.
And I think this is something that brands are beginning to
because we're talking about the entire experience,
so
right?
Brands are beginning to do more of that.
Businesses sell emotions, actually, not
I think that's because when that lady spoke to me, I didn't want to buy that product, but because of how she spoke to me, I was like, I have to buy this product.
Yeah, well, so let's talk about, you talked about personalized experience now. We're slightly running out of time, but let's talk about this. The main reason why some people or some organizations run away from that is because they believe it's actually quite expensive to like personalize or tailor experiences. But some actually believe that is the easiest thing for you to do, because going back to what we're saying about data collection, collecting the right form of data, because for example, banks, they've got that worked out. You know, they have your name, they have your date of birth. You wake up in the morning on your birthday, you see a text message. Yes, happy birthday. You know,
nice.
they call you by name and they tell you happy birthday and this and that. I mean, like, just like you say, they sell emotions. You understand?
Yeah.
And I don't think that is such an expensive endeavor to do. When you get that data, you harvest it, and you can automate a particular solution to do that for you.
Well, like I said, it's about value, right? And value is subjective, actually, right? We can buy the same thing. I could buy it for 1,000 naira, depending on the value attached to it, and you can also buy it for 10,000 naira. Probably that's the value attached to it.
Exactly.
Right? So money is just a measure, right? So if organizations can actually see it from the value perspective, what value are we offering the customer? What value are we also getting from it, right? Because it is the responsibility of the customer service professionals, right? Because after all, for businesses, they are selling value to the, you know. So when buyers buy the value and you have users, so it is also important, right, that you convince the buyer of that value, right? So you try to help the users to convince the buyer that he's actually getting value from whatever it is you're selling.
So, if I just final thoughts before we go.
So I just want to add to that. So when it comes to the cost of digital solutions that enables you to provide that personal experience, I would like to deviate a little bit from your point. I think from what I've seen, my engagement with startups, especially in Nigeria, they do not, I said something earlier to Ibrahim. I said having the right person lead your customer experience strategy.
Very important.
People who understand the business of customer service, how you need to, what tools you need, the people you need, the process you need to put in place. So when you talk about having expertise, I'm sure they are aware, they are exposed to varieties of tools. Like, there are some tools that, we have a tool that costs $60. We have another tool that can do the same, and it costs about $20 to do. So you having
I'll get that $20 off.
Exactly. So you having the right people lead your customer experience strategy. I think that's one way to to get that be sorted out, because you have the right person who knows the type of tool to adopt, who knows the type of data to collect, who knows how to action those data, who knows how to put the process in place, knows what what process you need to prioritize at the stage of the business. That would help you achieve the personalized experience we're talking about. Because if you can have the tool, you can have the right tool, but you don't have the right people, or the right process.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you need to have the right person who would drive your customer experience strategy to ensure that you're able to deliver your competence objectives.
I really don't want this conversation.
Honestly, I really wish I wish we actually had more time, because I mean, like, this is a very
interesting.
It's a very and very wide. We have different aspects of it that we need to touch on, and I do believe I'm very sure that we are going to continue this conversation again. We're going to bring you guys back, and we'll talk customer service. If I very nice having you on the show. I mean, like, learned a lot already. Yeah, Faisal, it's been great having you on the show, and it's been a wonderful conversation, so thank you very much, gentlemen.
It's a pleasure having you. Thank you.
All right, so it's still Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. Now we're going to move to something slightly different. Men are known to be proposing to the ladies when it comes to marital relationships. We all know that. But with each passing day since the feminist revolution of the 70s, there have been noticeable shifts in that tradition, as the world is gradually being subtly introduced to the idea that it may just be fine for a lady to propose to a man as well. So what do people think of the possibility of having ladies propose to them? All right. So Fatima Musa actually went around to seek the opinion of people. Let's take a look.